centuries, merchants and travelers crossed India by road. They traded spices, silk, and salt. These routes connected cities and villages across India. Although traders moved in groups for safety, travels were slow and dangerous. But there was something much more dangerous than wild animals, harsh weather, and difficult terrain. You see, hidden among ordinary travelers were men who seemed friendly and helpful. They would join caravans, share meals, and gain trust. But when the night would come, they would violently strangle their victims during their sleep. After taking all valuables, they would drag and bury the bodies in places they would never be found by their families. For over 300 years, they hunted on India's roads. Close to 2 million innocent were murdered by this cult. They were known as dakaiti cult, but most people called them Thuggees. What's truly unsettling about the Thuggees is how little people truly know about them. After falling deep into their rabbit hole, I discovered horrifying practices and lesser-known details. If you watch this video till the end, be aware that some of the historical facts and descriptions you're about to hear may be deeply disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The word thug in English comes directly from the Hindi word thag, meaning deceiver or swindler. But the Thuggees were in fact far more than simple thieves. Their origins stretch back to at least the 13th century, though some evidence suggests they may have operated even earlier. What is interesting about Thuggees is that they were not defined by any religion, caste, or region. Both Hindus and Muslims joined their ranks, united by their devotion to Kali, the Hindu goddess of death and destruction. According to their beliefs, Kali once battled a demon who threatened humanity. Each time the goddess killed the demon, drops of his blood created new demons. To prevent this, Kali learned to kill her enemies in a way that no blood would get spilled. The Thuggees saw themselves as Kali's disciples, continuing her work with each killing. Each killing was a religious sacrifice, an offering to Kali. They believed the goddess sanctioned their actions and protected them from detection. Many Thuggees were devout in their worship, observing elaborate rituals before, during, and after their murders. The Thuggees, unlike any other thieves and murderers, operated with military precision. Each band typically consisted of 10 to 200 members with defined roles. Their method followed a consistent pattern, refined over centuries. First came reconnaissance. Scouts would identify wealthy travelers along major trade routes. They assessed the number of travelers, guards, and potential valuables. Next was infiltration. Thuggees were masters of disguise, often posing as merchants, pilgrims, or soldiers. They would approach travelers, appear friendly and knowledgeable about the route ahead, and ask to join the caravan for mutual protection. Sometimes, they would travel with targets for days or even weeks, building trust before striking. Although Thuggees often wore katar knives, these were primarily symbols of status rather than practical weapons. Instead, their preferred method of killing was strangulation, using a special ceremonial cloth known as a rumal. This silk or cloth handkerchief was often consecrated to Kali. It sometimes contained a silver coin or medallion sewn into one corner to add weight, making it more effective as a weapon. The weighted end of the rumal was swiftly thrown over the victim's neck, ensuring the weight landed on the front of the throat, specifically targeting the Adam's apple. The attacker would then cross the ends of the cloth behind the victim's neck and pull tightly, using the leverage of their body weight and the added force of the medallion to compress the windpipe and carotid arteries. Even though I would much rather prefer this over getting stabbed, a far more disturbing and gruesome practice was often used to ensure the victims would not survive. Something far more horrifying than simply being strangled. But just before we continue, these videos aren't monetized and take hours of research and editing. If you like what you're seeing, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. Let's get back to it. You see, strangulation wasn't always so reliable, so to guarantee death, the stranglers would pierce their victims' eyes before throwing the bodies into wells or burial pits. Quite a horrifying thought, assuming some people might have faked their deaths. Interestingly enough, they preferred to attack at night in camps or at rest stops. The signal was often a specific phrase. Upon hearing this, Thuggees would take their positions. Death was usually quick and silent, with minimal struggle or noise that might alert others. The true scale of Thuggee operations is difficult to determine, but historical records suggest their impact was massive. British colonial authorities estimated that the Thuggees murdered close to an astonishing 2 million people over their centuries of operation. In 1840, British officer William Sleeman, who led the campaign against the Thuggees, documented one particularly prolific member named Burham. Before his execution, Burham confessed to personally participating in the murders of 931 people over a 40-year career. He recounted details with such precision that the authorities had little to no reason to doubt his claims. The Thuggees' operations quickly extended across the Indian subcontinent, from Bengal in the east to Punjab in the northwest, from the foothills of the Himalayas to the Deccan Plateau in the south. Major trade routes were particularly dangerous, with certain stretches of road becoming notorious for multiple disappearances. Thuggees had specific techniques for disposing of bodies, including breaking limbs to speed decomposition and prevent bloating that might cause the ground to rise suspiciously. Families of victims rarely learned what happened to their loved ones. Perhaps more disturbing, to hide even more their identities and true purposes, they developed a secret language called Ramasi, a specialized vocabulary that allowed them to communicate openly without revealing their intentions. They also used hand signals and seemingly innocent gestures to communicate during operations. It's truly disturbing to think that this elaborate code allowed Thuggees to plan murders while sitting directly among their intended victims. The systematic dismantling of the Thuggee cult began in the 1830s under William Henry Sleeman. Between 1830 and 1837, British authorities arrested over 3,000 suspected Thuggees. Of these, approximately 500 were hanged, with others sentenced to life imprisonment in colonial jails. By 1870, colonial authorities declared the Thuggee cult extinct. While isolated incidents continued for years afterward, the organized network had been effectively destroyed. Their belief in Kali gave them a reason for their actions, while poverty and social exclusion pushed people to join them. This complex interplay of religion, economics, and social factors gave rise to a cult of organized violence on an almost unimaginable scale. Thank you for joining me on this one. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.